All right, good morning.
Morning.
Morning. Sister Patricia DeMay, formerly Sister Cuthbert, and that was, where'd you get that name?
That's my father's name.
Your father's name, okay.
And I was going to take my mother's name, but imagine having Father Cuthbert and a Mother Myrtle. I always made fun of their names.
So, but you took your father's. Well, that's
Yeah.
very special. Well, thank you for being here, and I know you have lots to share with us, so we're going to have to pick and choose.
Yeah.
Okay? So if I cut you off a little bit, it's because I know you've got some more things hidden underneath there that we want to hear about. Mostly things we don't know about you.
Yeah.
Okay? But let's start with where you started, your family. So you grew up in Jackson, Michigan.
Correct.
So tell us a little bit about your mom and dad and siblings.
Well, my father was a doctor, a family doctor. He did surgery and went on house calls. That's how I had any opportunity to be with him, because he saved his house calls, the country calls, until nighttime, so that I could be in the car with him, and that's the only time that we met.
Oh, interesting. Your special time with Dad.
My mother would go in the car too, and
Oh.
we'd wait in the car while he took care of the patients. We often were fed during the Depression with the farmers' fresh produce or canned foods, and they would consider that their payment. He never gave out bills, didn't have a secretary, just took them as they came.
Wow.
And I remember us, my mother would say, "Oh, another chicken." "Oh, we have a duck this time." And some we'd get like moose or pheasant and things
So you
like
had
that.
good food. You were well fed.
We had good food during the Depression, but that's how we got paid.
Now you had brothers and sisters?
I have one brother and one sister, and they're both 10 and 12 years older.
Oh.
And my sister died about 10 years ago, and my brother died just last December,
Okay.
and he was 99 at the time.
So you're going to be around for a while.
Yes, so you're stuck.
No, I don't think. You've got a lot of work to accomplish looking at projects in your bedroom. We'll talk about that later. So you kind of grew up as an only child, you might say.
Yes.
Yeah. And how was that?
It was fine, because when they came home, my brother and I were always at swords' ends with each other. And
That's what brothers are for.
And he always would use great big long words on me, and I go to the dictionary and look them up and give him a synonym back.
Good for you. Early education.
Yeah. And but they're both deceased.
How come you didn't get into medicine? Was your mother a nurse?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
My mother was a nurse, and my brother was a doctor. And he too, he married a nurse. And my oldest niece does nurses training up in Lakeland, Florida.
Okay.
And my sister taught at U of M, pediatric nursing.
Oh, my.
And she has a girl who became a doctor. And
So the medical profession is very pronounced in your
very
history.
pronounced. In fact,
How did you?
They thought I was going to be a practitioner or medical researcher
Okay,
or
but
something like that.
you fooled them all.
Yes.
Well, how did you? What about high school? Where'd you go to high school?
I went to St. John's in Jackson.
Okay.
With the IHM sisters, and then as a junior I came to the academy here. My folks thought I needed more education than I was getting with they had a lot of memorization, and
That's
he thought
interesting.
there was more to life than memorizing.
So we got you and not
So-
the IHMs.
So you got it. yeah.
Okay. So you had 1 year here on campus.
Two.
Junior
Junior
and senior. And then
Then I entered.
how come you entered? How come you didn't become a doctor or a nurse?
No, I didn't want to have anything to do with medical training.
How come?
When I go to the dinner table, my brother would talk about a case that he had, and my sister would talk about how they take care of them now, and my mother would say what they did with them way back when, and so I was left out of the picture too much of the time, and I just didn't want anything to do with it.
So you chose what?
I chose the teaching.
The
yeah.
education. You came to the right order then.
Yeah.
So you entered in 1948?
Yes.
Okay. And how was life here on campus in 1948?
Well, my little neck of the woods was fine. I did okay.
You did okay. And then you went out on mission.
I went out, my first mission was to Utica, Michigan. And I had 1 year stints for a while. Utica, and we started Romeo, and I was in Flossmoor 1 year. That was Illinois.
Correct.
And I was in Lansing. Now, Lansing, I think there was 9 years there.
And who did you teach? What level did you teach?
The little ones, kindergarten, first grade.
And that seems to be where you belonged, wasn't it?
That's where I belonged, yeah.
What was it that you enjoyed so much with the little ones?
They were so forthcoming. They had so much to say.
Like
And-
what can you recall? We always used to say we should write a book about all the things that the kids.
Well, one
say.
time in Lansing, we were at Mass. Had to go to daily Mass, and the first graders were in the very back of church. And they couldn't see a thing.
No.
And so, about the offertory, this one little boy gets up and his head out, and I said, "Stephen, where are you going?" He said, "Oh, I saw this part before."
You saw that part before.
Yeah.
Okay.
He didn't want to stay for, just
No.
like a movie, you leave when you
So you
see-
had a great love for teaching the little ones.
Very much so.
And where did that lead you as you left the elementary education?
I stayed in elementary education until I think it was 79, something like that I went into college education.
Okay. And why did you go into college education?
Because my sister said to me, "Do you want to sit forever on the floor with the kids?" And I thought, I never thought of it, but I did do much of the work on the floor with them. And
So you got down there, but maybe a little trouble getting up, huh?
no, I was okay.
Okay.
The trouble came after I quit.
So you listened to your sister,
Yes, I did.
And
I
you
thought
went-
about it.
and you went on to.
I went on to Tennessee for another degree.
And what did you get your degree in?
A degree, it was called Curriculum and Instruction is the degree, and it had to have 3 majors. And within that, I had a major in children's books, language arts, and reading. So those were the 3 parts that I was good in.
So how did you put that degree into practice? How
Well,
did you
then I
use
was
that?
teaching college.
Okay.
And so I could say to them that it says this in the textbook. Now, I've tried that,
Okay.
and I never made it work. But doesn't mean you can't make it work or try it. But just know that it's not the best
Interesting.
formula.
Did your students ever come back and tell you about their experiences as teachers?
Well, one thing they always say to me when I see them again is, I read to my class every day. And I thought, I read to my college children every day. I didn't miss, and one day I missed. And they said, have we been naughty? We didn't get our story today.
So I can see in elementary or primary grade, you read a story every day to your
Yes,
students.
but I read in the college.
You read in the college, so you have
Yes.
these college kids. Okay.
So I could do discussion with them about the author or the illustrator or something I knew about them, and then I'd read the book so that they would have a greater understanding. And I said, now you need to read to your children, and if you don't, I'll haunt you.
Oh, that's nice.
They laugh.
So he came back to let you know that he still read. I'm sure there's a lot of your former students that are out there reading.
Yes.
How does that make you feel?
Oh, I'm glad, because I want people to know that the children's books are not always for little children. There are some that are good for middle school and even high school. And they're doing a lot now in education with the literature for children in high school, having them look at and observe different books, and can they do the same? Can they write a story similar to that and illustrate it?
So you spent a significant amount of time in your life in Alabama.
Oh, yeah.
That
Right.
brings a smile. Why?
Because it was the best part of my life, was in Alabama.
What happened?
Well, after I got my degree in Tennessee, I checked the blue books, where to find an opening, and I tried I interviewed in 3 or 4 other places, but when I got to the interview in Alabama, I was really hoping that they would, and they accepted me on the spot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you read them a story? Is that why?
No, but they wanted someone. They had someone who was a gospel reader before me, and they got hooked because this person was proselytizing in class, and they were afraid that with my background that I may do the same. And I said that was not my purpose in coming. My purpose was to educate.
So you were out of the habit by then?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I did get the job.
And what was special? Just maybe a special blessing for you at that time in that ministry?
Oh, how do I say? The people were wonderful, but it also had a very special feeling. It was a small town of 2,000, and the public school, there was one public school for the whole county, and it was all black. And that was the most difficult but also enjoyable part of it, because I had a friend that died recently from there. And she called herself the token white teacher.
So she taught in the all-black school.
She taught in the all-black school. And often I would go and do workshops for the teachers there. And workshops in the local counties. I did a number of workshops in children's books. And some in reading, but mostly in the literature.
Have you written books?
Yes, but they didn't accept it.
But I'm sure you've read those books to your students.
Yes.
What's the name of your books?
Life with David. And it's the story of my grandfather. And I had pictures that went with it. And it was his life. And I had from his autobiography. My grandfather wrote his autobiography at the age of 81. He typed it out. And there were 75 single-spaced pages.
No computer. On the typewriter.
No computer, that's right. And the stories were so interesting with him. He remembered the passenger pigeon. You know, they're passé now.
What's a passenger pigeon?
It's a type of pigeon. It was called the passenger pigeon. And they are no longer in existence. And he remembered playing with them and why he thinks that they're obsolete now. That was interesting.
And the book wouldn't sell. They wouldn't take it. Yeah.
No one knew why.
They didn't accept that book, though. You didn't get it published.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
They said they had already had a book of that nature. I figured I'm not going to try anymore. I don't need.
Yeah, we'll get into your creativity a little bit, but you mentioned to me about the many travels you had with your dad. I think you had a very special relationship with your dad.
Well,
could you just tell us maybe about one or two special travels?
My dad and I went traveling because my mother had passed away. And my dad was free to travel. My mother did not care to. And so he just wanted to go all over. So every Christmas vacation and every summer vacation, we went. And he planned the trips with the companies. And we went to Hawaii twice. And we went to Europe. And Central America. I was in Mexico twice, and then we went to Europe.
What country or what part in the world do you most remember or left an impression on you, and why?
Me oh my, that would be
hard.
Difficult. Because I think it would have to be Alabama because
interesting,
I got
right
so much interest. And every Saturday in Alabama, I'd take the car and I'd go take an out road and see what I could see. And so I knew Alabama quite well.
And did Alabama know you?
Oh, yes.
How did they know you so well? From all your teaching?
Yeah, from my conferences. Because I attended many conferences within this country. And many of them were international conferences. And I had done work with children's books at these conferences.
How do you, we can move a bit here. How did you get to Adrian? You just came into Adrian in 2013, didn't you? 2003.
Yeah, because I had retired from teaching, and I was not doing well health-wise. And so it was time.
And how was that transition for you?
That was difficult. That was a really rough going because I had lived alone for so long, and my interest was with the primary grades. My interest was with books, and I found it very difficult not being able, because so many of the people are college people, and to them books meant Dick and Jane, and that's not what the literature is. So
We grew up with Dick and Jane, didn't we? And Spot.
Spot, yeah, and they don't have that now.
No.
But I would review books coming out, and what did I think of the books? And so I did reviews for several large companies.
Good. All right, now you're in Adrian right now, and you came here in 2013.
Yes.
Okay, and adjusted here. Did you come right to Maria, or did you stay?
Yes.
You came right to Maria.
Yeah, fourth floor.
Fourth floor, okay.
And then I fell.
Oh.
Third floor.
Okay.
Then I fell again. Second floor. And I'm doing well.
Good. Use that walker. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're doing well. But the most important question is, you're a very creative woman. How are you using that gift right now?
I started to do quilting when I came here, but I found there was I brought my machine with me, and I found there was no place long enough or wide enough to be able to pin the quilts. And it was too hard. It was work. And I didn't want to make quilting a work. So by then, I had given all my nieces and nephews a quilt. Each one of them had gotten a quilt. And I was selling them at the antique store in Livingston. And so I tried it here, but I just couldn't make it. So I kept 2 quilts for here, and I knew I was going to bring them with me. And they're the ones that are in outside of the cafe, and there's one outside of the 2 South nursing station.
Okay.
And
your bed, you made the quilt on your bed.
Yes, I did.
With the shams, right? Beautiful. So people want to see your work, they could come visit you.
Well, they kind of wanted to have me put mine in display.
Oh, at NI. When they had the
And I just, I did not feel good about that.
Because?
Because they're where they belong now.
Got it.
And
okay.
I didn't want them going all over creation.
That's just down the road a bit.
I know. But, and how are they going to handle them? And so they were put there, and they stay there.
Good. Good for you. You knew what you wanted, and you did it. So there's other things that you do.
Oh, I make cards.
Cards. Tell us. I wish we had brought one of those cards. Tell us about your cards.
Well, I try to keep the seasons and a special holiday. And I have 15 nieces and nephews. So I send each of their family a card for, say, St. Valentine's Day and St. Patrick's Day and Easter and summertime.
Let's look at, now that we're getting ready for summer, it's summertime. So what would that special card look like? Kind of. It's going to be hard to describe. We should have brought one.
Yeah, it's a half fold.
A half fold
of paper. And it says summertime on the cover.
On the cover,
Like here.
Right.
And you open it up,
Well, don't open that up.
And there are different places that you do things you do in the summer.
Yeah.
Barbecue, swimming, fishing, all those. And down below is a lady hanging clothes. And I'm making a line go with cord and hanging with little clothespins the clothes on the line. And it says, we remember the moments, and down here's we remember days, and make your own memorable moments and days on summertime.
Mm-hmm.
So most of mine have a catch at the end.
Maybe what you could do when you get one finished is to send one to Scott, and I'll tell you where to send it. And maybe
Okay.
in some way we could
All right.
put it in with your story. What do you think?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Because
That would. It's very creative,
it takes time.
and you have time.
Yeah.
You use your time well. What are some of the other things you do? Have you ever read to sisters that can't see, or?
No, I've read. I was interested in Black poetry,
Oh,
and I got for myself the complete edition of Paul Laurence Dunbar and Langston Hughes and the early writers. And I've really been reading those because I couldn't see. My eyes would water, so I couldn't read a book.
oh,
And so the poetry I could read because it wasn't long.
got it. Uh-huh.
And I would read, but many people were not interested in the Black poetry, and it's so beautiful. And that's why I haven't read, because I can't read
Got
books.
it. Okay.
And now my niece had given my brother a Kindle, and he didn't like it. He's the 99. He didn't like it. It wouldn't have a thing to do with it. So my niece took it back. And she called, after he died, she called me and said, "We've got John's Kindle. Would you like it?" And I said, "Yeah." And I've read a book on
Oh, nice.
Kindle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's very good.
So the reading is coming back.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Is there anything else, Pat, that you've told us a lot about your life, but is there just something else in there that you'd like to share with us that perhaps we'd say, "Oh, I don't believe it"? That's
Well,
wonderful.
I think my trip to Russia was special.
What made it?
Because it was an Eisenhower grant, people to people. And we went to Hungary, and we went to Russia. And it was the year after the wall came down.
Wow.
And they had a new flag out, and I used to collect flags of different states and different countries. I had about 200 some flags, and the history of those flags. And that interested me greatly. And now the flags are at the library down there.
In Alabama.
And I also collected the dolls that go inside.
Oh, nesting
Nesting
dolls.
Yeah. And I had a lot of those, and I had gotten them in different countries, and one of my nieces was very interested in them, so I gave them all to her.
Oh, they're special.
Oh,
Yes.
And I got them from different countries, and I got one in Russia
Yeah.
that was big, and it had 11 dolls inside it. So Russia was special. I enjoyed.
Good.
We
Good.
went to the classroom where they taught English, and how they put a curtain over their blackboard in the front of the room. And so they put all the work they want on the blackboard. And so when it's time to use it, they draw the curtain aside. I thought that was very interesting. And also, in Russia, they had what they called recess, which was really not what we call recess. They had a room where children were to do a job that they needed, if it were a dot-to-dot puzzle or so, and they had lace curtains on the windows. I'll never forget that. They were beautiful. From top to bottom was lace.
We're going to have to draw this to a close, and I'm thinking, how would you like to be remembered? You're not going to be around. Let's say you're gone. How would you like to be remembered? What is it that you'd like people to say about you?
That I enjoyed life.
Yes. Wonderful. Wonderful. And one of the many blessings as an Adrian Dominican has been
to be able to enjoy life.
the freedom to enjoy life. Is there anything that I haven't asked that you'd like to tell the rest of us?
Oh, goodness.
Because this is going to be on YouTube. We can let Alabama and Tennessee know that you are now on YouTube. I'm serious. And besides, on the congregation website. Anything else that you might want us? Sister Cuthbert.
Another great place that I went to. I went with my dad to Williamsburg, and it poured rain all the time we were there. So we had our raincoat pockets with the pass. So we went there. But later on, I got to Williamsburg again. We were having an international children's conference, and people were there from different countries, and they were telling their experiences of books and how hard it is to get books in some country like Korea, and how they had built traveling boxes to take books on the shelves, and then they just closed them. That's the only way they could get books. And so the conference to me was just really enjoyable. And the thing, they gave each of us a pewter, you know, that, a memorable item. And I still have it because it was a beautiful experience hearing all the different people from Africa were trying to get reading into the system.
So you are a worldwide traveler.
Yes.
And I think for those of us that haven't been around the world, like you have, if we want to know a little bit more about a certain place, we know what room to go to on second floor of Maria.
Yeah. And my niece just sent me a card from Ono.
Oh, yeah. Right, I saw that yesterday. That was good.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she tells about certain places being special, and she does that. She works for the State Department, and she does conferences with the officials in the country.
Good.
And she's been all over Africa and Asia.
Okay. I hope you've written your autobiography and about.
Yes,
you have. Okay.
I wrote it, and I scanned pictures in it.
Wonderful.
So,
wonderful.
I wrote it, and when I gave it to them, I gave them my CDs that of my speeches in children's books, especially Beatrix Potter, and so because I'd been to the home and so on.
Okay, well, I hate to say this, but
Time is up.
time is up. To cover all your years in 30 minutes is a big challenge.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Patricia DeMay, formerly Sister Cuthbert, for sharing, taking this time to share what you've been about and who you are, and that we get to know a little bit more about you. And we're certainly going to come. I would encourage anyone that has heard this story to visit your room and see those cards. I was very taken up with the cards.
I save one of each kind.
Good. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. God bless you.
Welcome. Thank you.